just a minute, Paul. I can't find the pants to this costume. I'm coming.
Fuck the costume.
Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here with our last culinary delight for this Thanksgiving season. We have the Paul Bartel cult classic, Eating Raoul, a true independent film, self-funded by Bartel with money he raised from his friends and families because he couldn't get anyone else to back him on this weird little movie he made. And like a lot of independent films, it was filmed very quickly. Only 22 days. Unfortunately, like a lot of independent films, like John Carpenter's Dark Star, it was filmed in bits over a long period of time, about 2 years for this. Now, not only directed by Paul Bartel, but also stars him and former Andy Warhol regular, Mary Woronov. They actually worked together quite a bit. Some of the Paul Bartel films she worked with was Death Race 2000, where she was one of the racers. Then his follow-up, Cannonball, which was more of a comedic regular road race, kind of like the Gumball Rally, if you've ever seen that. Also in his scenes from the class struggle of Beverly Hills. They also appeared in non-Paul Bartel films, not always sharing scenes, but they also appeared in Rock and Roll High School. He was a teacher and she was the rather strict principal that's brought in to clean the place up. They were also in Hollywood Boulevard, and the sci-fi comedy Heartbeeps also had them, and they also reprised the roles here of Paul and Mary Bland in the opening scenes of Chopping Mall. Now, Raoul was played by Robert Beltram. You probably know him best from Star Trek Voyager, where he played Chakotay, second in command of the Voyager. Some of his other work also includes an appearance in scenes from the class struggle in Beverly Hills. He also reunited with Woronov in Night of the Comet. They have like one scene together. And he was the sidekick of Chuck Norris in Lone Wolf McQuade. Any action fans may remember that as the film where Chuck Norris's karate was pitted against David Carradine's kung fu. Pretty exciting ending battle there. Now, the film opens with a narration by Paul Bartel about how sleazy and just plain sex-soaked LA is. And we're then introduced to Paul Bland, who works in a wine shop where he talks a customer out of buying this cheap wine that his boss is wanting him to dump on his customers because he bought a bunch of it. It's crowding out the back room, but instead he talks her into a chateau, a more expensive wine and a better wine. And while the two are arguing over that sale, a man comes in to basically hold the place up.
Excuse me, one of you gentlemen mind giving me the money out of that cash register?
What?
I said give me the money out of the register, sucker, and make it fast.
And that right there should show you the kind of film we're watching tonight. If the owner looks familiar, that is Richard Paul, probably best known as the mayor on the sitcom Carter Country, which I believe lasted longer than President Carter's actual term in office. Anyways, we're next introduced to Paul's wife, Mary Bland, who works as a nurse in the hospital, and she has one problem that just dogs her all the time.
Baby, you got a problem. And we could solve it so easily.
Oh, what's that supposed to mean?
Baby, with a shape like yours, that's like wasting a natural resource.
Open your mouth.
If I do, will you open your legs?
Yeah. That's something she's got to put up with a lot. She finally convinces him to eat, and if he does, she'll give him something special. But it's not what he thought it would be.
Hey, Mary, they want you down in the kitchen.
Oh, I was just about to give Mr. Baker his high colonic.
What? Don't worry. I'll do it for you.
Oh, do it, would you? But try not to tear anything like you did last time. Bye.
She's clever. I like her. Anyways, after work, they go home where Paul reveals that he was let go, and he laments that they're never going to save up money to start their restaurant. And look at all the bills, and they can't survive on just Mary's salary. And well, Paul has been approached about selling some of his personal wine, but he doesn't know. Turns out there's a swinger party going on, and one of the swingers comes over to invite them, gets sick on their carpet, and then goes into the bathroom where turns out he's not doing too well.
God. Hey, come on, wake up. You've got to go now. Come on, wake up. Mary, he doesn't seem to be breathing.
Do you think he drowned in the toilet?
Oh, well, he's not.
They quickly call 911, only to then abruptly say, sorry, false alarm, and hang up when he walks out of the bathroom. He just passed out. So Paul walks him back to his party, where he gets introduced to a, I wouldn't say working girl.
Good night. Come.
Turns out that was actually a setup from the guy they brought back. He given her a signal to delay this guy so that he could go back to the man's apartment and have some time with Mary. And he attacks her. But luckily, Paul is able to extricate himself and gets back just in time.
Paul, stop it! You killed him! You killed him!
Yeah, he killed him. He did find a lot of money in his pocket, though. Should they keep it? Well, they do need it. Another problem is their realtor's coming for dinner, so they stuff him in a plastic, or I should say a garbage bag, and then have their dinner with the realtor, who shows them a property they really, really like. Unfortunately, he needs $20,000 within like 10 days, or they'll lose it. What to do? Well, first things first, they gotta get rid of the body, which they wait till later in the night, drag it down to the basement where they put it in the incinerator. Now, what are they going to do? Well, Paul decides he will sell some of his expensive wine, and Mary will go to the bank to try to get a loan for the rest. Things do not work out the way they'd hoped.
hungry? I was about to go to the restaurant.
Oh.
We can leave these here. No one will trouble them, I'm sure. I'll buy you a little déjeuner and we can haggle about price over the steak tartare. Would you excuse me, please? I have to cash some traveler's checks.
You through with this?
Yes.
Good. I'll go bury it.
Mr. Peck?
Bank's wishes. $10,000 is a great deal of money.
Mr. Leach, I'm sure the bank has nothing to worry about. It's going to get everything that's coming to it.
It's just that the bank wants to see what it's getting into.
Mr. Leach, please! Hurry! Everybody else! Mr. Leach!
Are you all right, Mr. Leach? I rejected this woman's loan application on grounds of insufficient credit. In desperation, she made certain advances to me, which I, of course, repulsed.
You liar!
Poor Blands. Paul's ripped off of his wine. Mary's propositioned and then thrown out. Labeled a hussy. And it gets worse when Mary's patient that had been hitting on her shows up and he's ready to party.
Jesus.
Now they got another body on their hands. Hey, he's got money too. This gives them an idea. But how to go about it? Wait a minute. That dominatrix gave something to Paul before he left that night.
Mary, how will we contact them? We don't know anything about this swinger business.
Ask someone who does.
They call up Doris, who happens to be a housewife in the suburbs, and she explains all about placing ads in papers and shows them. And here's the thing: she can be a dominatrix, she can make money. She doesn't have to sleep with any of these guys. That's not what they're into. Anyways, sounds like a great idea. That's what they're going to do. Although they're adding that they're going to kill the clients and take their money. But they don't let Doris know that. That, after all, would be a little off-putting to their new friendship. While leaving Doris, they find an interesting ad on their car.
Some lock service that puts in new locks cheap.
$12.95. When Mrs. Berkowitz was robbed, it cost her $35 to put new locks in.
$12.95 isn't a bad price. Raoul's Lock and Key Service.
We have a title! Yes. We have a title, yes!
No, not yet. We're getting there, okay? Anyways, they call up Raoul. And, well, that $12.95 isn't exactly what they're going to end up paying.
There's only 4 screws holding it in place.
That's right.
One good kick, and it will be gone. Now, I could put in a new one like I advertised for $20.
It said $12.95 in your flyer.
Oh, that was the old price.
The old price?
Everything's going up.
Well, yeah, but...
So he talks them into not only the door, all the windows, even though they're on the 5th floor. You know, them cat burglars. Anyway, things are off and running with Paul and Mary after the locks are done, and they start bringing in people and disposing of them. And of course, Raoul, who is a little nefarious himself, he breaks in, and while rooting around for valuables, he makes a rather unsettling discovery.
I don't know. Isn't it here?
Did you take it into the bedroom?
Of course I... Shh.
Somebody's in
You're in the kitchen. Come on.
Well, this leads to a bit of a conundrum. Paul and Mary find Raoul in their kitchen, having stolen the money out of their wallet, or his wallet, and her purse, and he knows they've got a cadaver. So, what to do? Well, Raoul's a nice guy. They're a nice couple. He's got an idea.
All I want is the cadavers.
The what?
The bodies. What do you want them for?
That's my business. But I'm gonna split it with you 50-50. You take their cash, you give me everything else. We're gonna make a nice profit.
That sounds kind of fair, I guess. Paul's not too sure, but Mary snaps at it immediately. Well, things go along pretty smoothly. They're collecting money to hopefully get their restaurant. Raoul's taking care of getting rid of the bodies. He's made a deal with some guy about it, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, everything's going along swell. Until one night, their client shows up late, or doesn't show up. So, I've got another one coming, but, well, they're both hungry, so Paul goes down to the store to get them something to eat, and while he's gone, the client finally shows up, and even though Mary tells him, it's too late, we'll have to reschedule, we've got someone else coming, he's not really listening.
Well, you're sitting home watching Captain Kangaroo and munching on Cocoa Puffs. And now I'm defending your ass, huh? Oh, but I'm not hipping under you.
Lucky Raoul came in time. But, being, he's a young man, and she's a distraught woman, he finds the joint the guy had brought with him for the hippie role play, lights it up, gives her some, and makes her more amenable to being seduced. The next day, she is at work at the hospital, and he shows up for a exam. She protests, but again, another joint, another seduction.
Gotta do the way I do. You wouldn't even be with me.
Paul and I have been together for 10 years. Our marriage is based on something much more important than sex.
Like what?
Like friendship and security.
There would be more security for both of us if we split the money 2 ways instead of 3.
Well, I think we know what's on Raoul's mind. Then we get a pretty humorous scene where Paul goes to an adult store to buy some props for their thriving business. And as he's getting into his car, this happens. Paul is getting rather suspicious. He's pretty sure that was Raoul. I mean, doesn't have proof, but just to be sure, he follows him the next day and learns just what it is he does with the cadavers and other things. Couldn't really show too much of that. Los Lobos was doing a Spanish version of Devil with the Blue Dress On underneath these scenes, and so hopefully I won't get demonetized for it. But yes, this was also probably the first national exposure of the band before they hit big with their La Bamba soundtrack. Anyways, as we can see, he's selling the cadavers' clothes to clothing shops. He's selling the bodies to a dog food company. And what we didn't see, but they talk about, is that he's also selling the cars that the clients use to get where they to the apartment building. And the dealers he's dealing with, they don't ask too many questions about where stuff comes from. Paul explains all this to Mary, but she's just, oh, you're worrying about nothing. It's okay. You don't have to worry about Raoul. Well, Paul does. So he goes to Doris, remember the dominatrix? She has a lot of costumes. And perhaps one of them can help quash this budding love affair.
You have been earning money from an evil undertaking. And if you keep it up, you will burn for all eternity in hell.
Hey, sister, I'm in hell right now. That money's gonna help get me out. No wet back.
According to our information, your birth certificate is a forgery.
Hey, you got the wrong Mendoza, baby.
Sure, all you vatos say that.
Yeah, you don't scare me any. This is all Todd.
Just take 2 of these each time you have sexual relations.
Before or after?
Before.
Well, you better give me about 5 of these. I'm a guy that really likes to party.
Oh, finally found one that worked. Whew. Say, what are those pills she gave him?
Who gave these to you?
A nurse, why?
They don't look like vitamins. These are saltpeter. That's what they give little kids in camp so they don't play with themselves.
Excuse me. Looks like Paul got one up on Raoul. And Raoul knows it must have been him. Now the Blands have run into a bit of a problem. They got a call from their realtor. Now they need $25,000 and they need it soon. Well, what to do? Hey, what about this party that they got a call about? Maybe it could be the answer. So they head out to a swingers party and wowzer.
Over there, you're a highly unusual looking couple. We were wondering if you'd like to get together with us and have a little fun.
What did you have in mind?
Oh, gee, we're up for about anything. You see, we're both bis, so we can go either way.
No, not Edie McClure. Oh, wow. They say maybe later. And, Mary goes up to the bathroom. She needs to steady herself as they're going to start hunting. And, gee, guess who's actually in the bathroom with her?
Little scene you played the other day in my office really turned me on. I kept wondering what the passion was like with the hair down and the clothes off. And now I'm going to find out for myself.
I know what you're thinking. How could she stab him with a comb? Well, back in the early 80s to late 70s, we had these combs that were about yay big, and the handle was this long, and it came to a point. Yeah, we really didn't have many safety standards back then. Anyway, she manages to get the deceased bank manager out the window and into the back garden, or side garden, I'm not sure where he landed. And then she goes to get Paul, who's a little tipsy at this point, and they go out to go strip him of his valuables. When it turns out everybody's getting into the hot tub, and when they don't want to join them, people get a little belligerent, which just ticks Paul off.
Well, swing on this.
Okay. Well, they got all those clothes they can sell, all the money that people had on them, and all of those cars.
1, 2, 3.
Hello? One-way auto? Do you have one of those double-decker car carriers? Well, bring it over to 1510 Blue Jay Way. We've got a banana.
Putting on some quick disguises, they sell all but one of the cars. Taking that one for themselves. And after the transaction, they get home, where they've now made $40,000. They can get that restaurant. They don't need to do the swinging thing anymore. But someone's a little upset with him.
So, not only do you try to make me into a big maricon, but you sell cars behind my back and don't even give me a cut. Don't worry, Chiquita. The time has come to liberate you from this husband of yours.
Listen, Raoul.
Shut up!
Yeah, Raoul has a lot of talking he does about how he and Mary, they don't need Paul anymore, and they're in love, and they're going to have a life of ease with each other without him out of the way. And then they all traipse into the kitchen to get the frying pan.
I can't find it.
Come on.
Wonder who got hit.
Damn kid broke the compactor. Let's put bottles in it or something.
Paul, what are we going to do about Raoul?
Oh, don't worry about him.
Don't worry about him.
I'll drop him off at Dory's.
Mary, of course, wants to apologize about Raoul and her. And Paul doesn't want to hear it. He knows Mary. And if anything, Raoul was forcing her, which she agrees he did say if she didn't continue after the first time because of the drugs, that he would get rid of Paul. So that's all settled. But now they have another problem.
James the money.
James.
Then
Paul, I forgot all about
we
James.
promised him dinner, and he's
I
going to
know.
be here in 45 minutes.
Well-
I'll go to the store and get something.
The store? You can't go to the store. You don't have time. Paul, we've got to improvise something.
Improvise something? I wonder.
I hope you make this a permanent item on your menu. It's French.
No, actually, it's more Spanish.
Okay, now.
We have a title! Yes. We have a title, yes!
Oh. That's where we get the title from. Took a while to get there. But, well worth it. Oh, and we end on a rather disturbing note.
She met me for someone exactly like you.
You gotta wonder, are they going to be continuing to use people for their ingredients there at the end? This is the epitome of a cult film. It is darkly comedic. It is got a biting satire. It's very funny, and it's also a bit of sophistication, although that's very subtle. Mostly due to Paul Bartel, who was a very sophisticated guy, despite what you would think from watching some of his films. But a sad note on this was that many years later, Paul Bartel had finally written a script and had gotten the finances together to make a sequel. It was going to be called Forever Bland. The plot was basically going to have a Chevy Chase be a man who discovers their secret and blackmails them. And sadly, Paul called Mary and said it's a done deal. He's just getting ready to start, get ready for pre-production, to get all the shooting scheduled out and everything, and died the next day. Oh, God, that's sad. You can only imagine what that sequel could have been. But as for the film we have, very funny. Paul Bartel and Mary Warroff, they have such great chemistry on screen. It was so good, people actually thought that they might have been married in real life, but unfortunately they both had different attractions. Mary, well, I should say they had the same attractions. Men. but they were very good friends, and they really worked well together. One of my personal favorites is Rock and Roll High School, where they're kind of at odds. He's this kind of like his character here. He's a very sophisticated music teacher who's into classical, who gets turned on to the Ramones, as he referred to them, thanks to PJ Soul's Riff Randall. And she plays the evil principal who's out to get rid of all those rock and rollers. And of course their cameo in Chopping Mall, which they have some of the best snarky lines. They're only in for a couple of minutes, but good stuff. But yeah, this is probably Bartel's best film. It feels like a real passion project. 'Cause so much, he just satirizes everything. The lifestyle of that time, the swinging lifestyle, degeneracy, rich people. There was a similar film that came out right after called Eat the Rich, and it did better than this one, but this one's had a steady decline in popularity as a cult film than that one has. And the thing is, you really like these people. That is the key to this film. They're doing horrendous things. They're just so nice, and they have such a wholesomeness about them. And all they really want is just to make enough money to start their restaurant. And it has kind of a happy but creepy ending at the end. And yeah, just a great film. There's a reason it's in the Criterion Collection. I mean, but then again, so is some of John Waters' films. So Criterion, they don't judge on snootiness. But I really like this film. I, of course, was introduced to it in college, like a lot of people were, because it's just one of those kind of films that you see on a lot of college campuses. Because when you're in your 20s, you're open to weirdness. Although I'm open to weirdness still, so... Well, never mind. Anyway, yeah, really good film. I would highly recommend it. With a caveat, if you don't like a lot of nudity, this has a ton of nudity in it, considering its subject matter of the swingers and everything. And the rather glib way they go about with the murders is also could be off-putting. But if you can get past that, and if you're sophisticated enough, it's a good time. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. And as always, stay after for my favorite scene.
Starving. Me too. I'm gonna go to the store and get something. Chicken, all right?
Yes, but go to Raoul's. I just like their produce man.
Okay.
Oh, and Paul,
Yeah?
do you think you could buy another frying pan? I'm just a little squeamish about cooking in the one we're using to kill people.
Yeah, sure.